A company called Niwa have sent me 2 of their watches. Niwa is a company that make watches that look ever so slightly different to the kinds that we might be used to. Whether or not that's actually a good thing, I'm not so sure, but these are incredibly cool to look at. What on earth is going on here? And what off earth is going on here? That's a piece of meteorite. Also, look at the size of this. My hands aren't tiny. This is a regular size watch. This is a dinner plate. This video has been sponsored by PCBWay, your one-stop solution for all of your DIY needs. Not only do they offer a printing service for every type of PCB that you can possibly imagine, they also do 3D printing, CNC machining, sheet metal fabrication, and injection molding. Check out PCBWay using the link in the description below. Don't get me wrong, these watches are extremely cool, and although it's comically large, the technology inside here is extremely impressive. This is a slightly newer one that they've made, which is a little bit smaller. In fact, it's actually about the same size as a regular watch, which is nice. Doesn't necessarily make it any more practical or usable, but we'll get onto that in just a minute. So it's only taken me a few minutes, but what are these watches? Why am I talking about them? Why do they look like this? Well, these are vacuum fluorescent display tubes. What are those? Let me consult my script. Well, the basic explanation, and believe me, this is still confusing, is that when power is applied to the tube, a filament inside the tube heats up, releases electrons, and those electrons hit glowing segments shaped like numbers or letters. Or in the instance of this one, just a pole, a little pole. And obviously there's a gas inside these tubes, which is what the electrons sort of... Okay, so I have no idea what I'm talking about with regards to vacuum fluorescent display tubes, but if you do want to find out more information about them, go ahead and Google it. I really don't understand it, even with all of the research. I want to say it's like a bulb, but I feel like I'd be offending a lot of people if I said that. Believe it or not, vacuum fluorescent display tubes have actually been around for nearly a century. I think the patent first came around in the 1930s, and then they later went into production in the 40s and 50s, but they were much bigger. This is a huge feat of technological engineering. Now, this company is obviously not manufacturing these vacuum fluorescent display tubes, they're repurposing existing stuff, but it's amazing how small these are. And this is not like a pretend one, this is actually a vacuum fluorescent display tube. And that is obviously gonna mean something to some people. I think to most people, it's just gonna be like, oh, well, that's a really neat light that is going on inside this watch. I don't think these are necessarily going to appeal to someone who doesn't understand and appreciate a vacuum fluorescent display tube, because, you know, at the end of the day, this is a comically large, I would say gimmick large watch that is it's not a very practical thing to wear on a day-to-day basis. Not to mention, they both cost around about $500. So if you don't appreciate the technology, is that a price tag for something that is, you know, not really an everyday wearable watch? I mean, this one does actually, you know, tell you the time at a pinch, and you sort of rotate the watch to get it to actually come on, and it comes on for a few seconds. You can increase the time that it's on for, but it's never on for too long before it has to turn off again, presumably to save battery. So what does it tell you that nearly 5 minutes into the video, most of you are probably thinking, how do I tell the time on these watches? Well, let me explain. So the one that makes you look like you're on house arrest is fairly self-explanatory. So once you tilt the watch, it shows you the hours first and then the minutes. This, for example, would be 3:35. The smaller one is way more confusing. On the left-hand side of the watch, you have 0 to 5. On the right-hand side of the watch, you have 0 to 10, I think. So when you rotate the watch, it gives you the hours first and then the minutes. So you take a quick glance, you're flashed with a bunch of lights, you have to get Google out to work out what Roman numeral is what, then you have to get your calculator out and add it up, and you realise you're late for the funeral. You know, it's just going to be more effort than it's worth to learn how to tell the time on this thing. You've basically got to relearn how to tell the time. Whereas on this one, you do get shown numbers, which is brilliant, but then you're sacrificing having a normal-sized watch. So for $500 or so per watch, what do you get with the watches? Well, this is what the big chunky monkey comes in. It's a fairly standard looking watch box. It's quite nice actually. You open it up and then on the top you have the area where the watch comes, and then in the bottom is a little drawer, and you pull that out and that's got all of the bits that come with the watch. So the big one charges with a wireless charger, which is quite nice. That just sits on there. It's a micro USB and that cable is inside here. And then both of them come with these little magnets. What on earth are those for? Well, that's to set the time. We're gonna get onto that because there is no buttons on these watches anywhere. The other watch comes in a piece of wood and plastic, and it comes with an Allen key to unscrew that. Now, at first I thought, what? This cannot be cheaper than a regular box. Why are they doing this? But then I thought about the fact that for travel and whatnot, and just for general storage, this is probably quite a clever way to do it. I can't imagine these watches would last very long if they took a drop or something like that, or a bit of a hit. So inside here you have a little disc which has a QR code on the back to show you how to set it up and stuff, and then you'd have the strap. The watch comes in the middle. This is the other strap, and then there's the magnet there as well. So yeah, it's quite a nice thing. It's got all this foam everywhere to store it, and a very inventive handmade way to deliver the watch. The big one, I don't think that actually comes with a box. I know you're confused because there's a box right here, but they sell this box on the website separately for $40. So either this doesn't come with the box, or they just also sell an empty box. Charging the smaller watch is done with this little magnetic cable, which just clips onto the back and charges the watch. Charging them takes about 3 hours to get to full power. This one lasts supposedly about 10 days. This one lasts supposedly 3 months. Obviously, that is going to differ depending on how long you have the display on for. You can set it to like different time durations, and also how many times you wear them and tell the time on them. Or you know, you might have this one on for so long trying to work out what the time is that you deplete the battery in the first few days. But yeah, I don't know how accurate that actually is. I will not be wearing either of these things for that long to actually test it. Both of them have quick release straps, which is quite nice. You know, that means that you can basically, well, you can put pretty much any strap that's gonna fit on here. It's a 20mm strap. So, setting the time. This in itself is bloody complicated. And I'd like to point out that a few reviewers of these watches have altogether just bailed on explaining how to set the time. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna read my script. So you wave the magnet around either side of the watch. Left side is for set and right side is for mode. You start by holding the magnet around the mode side until the display flashes. Your first setting is for 24 or 12-hour displays. Once set, you then press the mode button again. Then you set the hour and confirm with the mode. Then you set the tens of minutes and confirm with the mode, and then you set the minutes and confirm with the mode side. And finally, you can set the angle the watch comes on at. If only it was really that simple, because the reality of it is that you kind of forget where you are with waving it around, and there's nothing to really like indicate what stage of the process you're at. So if you get it wrong, you're basically having to go back to the start again and just go through it. And also in terms of doing the angle, you have to sort of hold it at the angle and then be pressing stuff, and then yeah, it's complicated. At the moment, I've got them both to come on at around 45 degrees. That is probably because you're going to have to make a point out of telling the time, because otherwise it's just going to constantly be coming on, and that is going to deplete the battery. So you have to sort of, you know, hold it up around like that to actually tell the time. So that's going to look normal, isn't it, if you're constantly... By the way, these watches aren't actually a new thing. Techmoan made a video about watches like this nearly 15 years ago, which is ridiculous. Niwa, the company that make these watches, have also been making these watches for several years. They've got a video from a very long time ago on YouTube showing how to actually set up and use this watch. There also isn't a shortage of videos on these watches. It seems that Niwa have sent this watch to pretty much every YouTuber who's made a video on a watch before. But they must be still selling them. There must still be a demand. So here's yet another video. For me, they're just not really my thing. I can appreciate them. I respect the fact that this company's doing them. I'm just not personally a big fan of this sort of thing. It just, I like the size of this one, but the impracticality of it, and it obviously doesn't look as cool as the numbers and stuff. Either way, I would love to hear your thoughts on these watches in the comment section down below. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have never seen these watches before, I'm sure that was quite a cool thing to look at. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Goodbye.